It was close to midnight when Sarah pulled her aging sedan into the corner of the downtown parking lot, headlights dim against the neon glow of the city. Her shift driving for a rideshare app had stretched into its 12th hour. She was exhausted, but she couldn't stop yet. Rent was due in 4 days, her daughter's school fees were piling up, and the fridge at home carried more empty shelves than full ones. Her phone buzzed. Another request. She sighed, tapped, accept, and drove toward the upscale restaurant where the pin glowed on her screen. Sarah parked in front of the glittering glass doors, their golden handles polished like trophies. The kind of place where couples toasted anniversaries and executives closed million-dollar deals. Not the kind of place she'd ever set foot in if not for work. A man stumbled out, his suit jacket hanging loose, tie undone, and eyes glazed with the heavy shine of alcohol. He looked around, confused before spotting her car. He opened the back door clumsily and fell inside with a groan. "Evening," Sarah said softly, trying to mask her fatigue. The man mumbled something incoherent, then leaned back, head tilted against the window. As she started driving, the smell of expensive cologne mixed with whiskey filled the car. He looked mid-30s, handsome even in his disheveled state, the kind of man who seemed more at home in boardrooms than ride-hailing apps. The app pinged the destination, a penthouse address uptown. Sarah's eyebrows rose. That was the wealthiest stretch of the city. Minutes passed in silence until the man spoke suddenly, his words slurred but laced with frustration. Do you ever feel like no one sees you? Like you give everything, and still it's not enough?" Sarah's hands tightened on the wheel. She didn't answer right away. But the question pierced her in a way he couldn't have known. "More often than you'd think," she murmured finally. He turned his head, studying her with hazy eyes. "You're a driver. Long night." "Every night's a long night," she replied with a faint smile. "Single mom. Bills don't pay themselves." Something flickered in his expression. He nodded slowly, then closed his eyes again. But his silence felt different now, less heavy, more thoughtful. When they reached the gleaming tower of glass that housed his penthouse, Sarah parked by the entrance. The doorman hurried forward, eyeing the passenger with recognition and slight disapproval. "Mr. Weston," the doorman said carefully, "shall I assist you inside?" The name hit Sarah unexpectedly. Alexander Weston. She knew that name. He was the CEO of Weston Enterprises, a company plastered across billboards, sponsoring half the charities in town. She'd read about him in magazines while waiting at her daughter's dentist appointments. Wealthy, brilliant, untouchable. And here he was, drunk in the back seat of her car. Alexander fumbled for his wallet, pulling out a thick stack of bills. He shoved a handful toward her. "For your trouble." Sarah glanced at the money but shook her head. "You've had enough trouble tonight. Keep it." His eyes opened, hazy but searching. "Nobody refuses me," he said softly, almost to himself. "Well," Sarah replied, handing the bills back gently, "tonight someone did." The doorman helped him out of the car, steadying him as they walked inside. Before disappearing, Alexander turned back, meeting Sarah's eyes for a brief moment. There was confusion there, yes, but also something else. A spark of curiosity, as if she had done something that shattered his carefully constructed world. Sarah drove away, the city lights blurring through her windshield. She didn't know why she refused the money. Maybe because kindness shouldn't always carry a price tag. Or maybe because, for once, she wanted to remind someone like him that not everything could be bought. But she didn't expect to see him again. The next morning, Sarah was back at the diner where she worked mornings before driving rides at night. She tied her apron, forcing a smile as she served coffee to regulars. Life was a cycle of exhaustion and survival, and she had accepted it. Until the door opened, and in walked Alexander Weston. This time sober. His tailored suit was immaculate, his hair neatly styled, and his presence commanded attention the way headlines described. He glanced around until his gaze landed on her. Sarah froze, her heart raced. What was he doing here? He walked toward her table, ignoring the curious stares from other customers. "Sarah, right?" he asked, his voice low but clear. She blinked. "How do you know my name?" He gave a faint smile. "I asked the rideshare app. I wanted to thank you properly." "You already tried last night," she said, crossing her arms. "This isn't about money," he replied. "It's about honesty. Nobody tells me no, nobody treats me like just a man, but you did." Sarah shifted uncomfortably, feeling every eye in the diner on them. "I was just doing my job." "Maybe," Alexander said, "but it meant more than that. Could we talk, just for a few minutes?" She hesitated. She had tables to serve, plates to carry, bills to worry about. But something in his voice, an earnestness that didn't match the headlines about him, made her pause. Against her better judgment, she nodded toward an empty booth. 5 minutes. They sat. Alexander studied her quietly before speaking. "Last night, I was at a breaking point. My board doesn't respect me. Investors are restless. I've built everything, and yet, I've never felt lonelier. But when you refused my money, when you saw me as more than a paycheck, it shook me. Reminded me that maybe, just maybe, not everything is lost. Sarah listened, wary but sympathetic. She knew loneliness. She knew the crushing weight of carrying burdens alone. Why are you telling me this? She asked softly. Because you reminded me what matters, he said, and because I'd like to see you again, outside of this diner, maybe dinner. Her laugh was short, nervous. You're a CEO. I'm a single mom working 2 jobs. That's not exactly a match. Maybe that's why it could be real. Alexander replied. Sarah looked at him, torn between disbelief and the faintest flicker of hope. For years her life had been about survival, never about being seen, and now, here was a man from a different world entirely, looking at her as if she mattered. She stood quickly, collecting herself. Your 5 minutes are up, I have work to do. But as she walked away, her heart pounded. She told herself it was nonsense, that nothing would come of this, and yet, deep inside she knew her life had just shifted. 2 days later, Sarah found herself glancing at the diner door more often than usual. She told herself it was silly. Men like Alexander Weston didn't just stroll into the lives of women like her. Still the memory of his steady gaze and unexpected vulnerability lingered. By Friday night, exhaustion tugged at her again. After finishing her shift at the diner, she drove another 6 hours, ferrying strangers across the city. Near midnight her phone buzzed with a ride request. She accepted automatically, until she saw the name. Alexander. Her heart thudded. Surely it couldn't be him again. But when she pulled up outside the Weston Enterprises tower, there he was, waiting with a small smile, this time completely sober. You requested me, she asked through the open window. He nodded. I wanted to see you again. Thought this might be the only way. Against her better judgment, she let him in. He wasn't dressed like a CEO tonight. Just jeans and a jacket, casual but confident. I'm not sure this is appropriate, she said as she started driving. I'm not here to cross lines, he replied gently. I meant what I said. You made me feel human again. Silence filled the car, broken only by the hum of the engine. Sarah finally asked, where to? Wherever you'd like to go. She almost laughed. I don't have time for games. I have a daughter at home, homework waiting, bills stacked on my counter. My life doesn't leave room for detours. Alexander leaned forward slightly. Then maybe I can help lighten the load. Not with money. Not the way you're thinking, but with opportunity. Tell me, Sarah, what would you do if you didn't have to work 2 jobs? The question caught her off guard. She thought of the sketchbooks tucked away in her closet, drawings she hadn't touched in years. She thought of art classes she abandoned when her daughter was born. I'd paint, she whispered before she could stop herself. Alexander smiled softly. Then maybe you should. She shook her head. Dreams don't pay rent. Sometimes they do, he countered, with the right support. She pulled up outside his building, the moment stretching between them. Good night, Mr. Weston, she said firmly. Alexander, he corrected. Please. She hesitated, then nodded. Good night, Alexander. He stepped out, but before closing the door he added, I'll see you again, Sarah, I promise. Days passed. Sarah tried to bury the encounter beneath routines, school runs, double shifts, grocery lists, but the world seemed to conspire against her. A week later, she arrived at the diner to find Alexander seated at the counter, chatting warmly with her manager. He looked up, eyes lighting when he saw her. Her manager pulled her aside. Do you know who that is? He's offering to sponsor renovations for the diner. Can you imagine? Sarah felt her knees weaken. She confronted Alexander after her shift. Why are you doing this? Because you reminded me what it means to care, he said simply. And because I believe in you. Tears stung her eyes. For years, she had carried her struggles in silence, invisible to the world. And now this man, a CEO who could have ignored her existence, was choosing to see her, to believe in her. It wasn't about money, it was about recognition, about being valued not as a worker, not as a servant, but as a person. Weeks turned into months. Their paths crossed again and again, sometimes planned, sometimes by chance. Slowly trust grew. He met her daughter, kneeling to help with homework, listening with patience that melted Sarah's guarded heart. She learned his struggles too. The loneliness of leadership, the pressure of expectations, the fear of never being loved for himself. One evening as they walked through the city park, lights twinkling above them, Alexander stopped. Sarah, he said quietly, you changed my life the night you told me no. You showed me a world I'd forgotten existed. A world where kindness matters more than wealth. I don't just want to help you. I want to build something with you. Her breath caught. For the first time in years, she let herself imagine a future not defined by exhaustion but by hope. And as he took her hand, she realized that sometimes the most unexpected rides lead you exactly where you're meant to be. Because love doesn't care about titles, it cares about truth, and in the quiet strength of a single mom who refused to be bought, a powerful CEO found the one thing his money never could: a reason to believe again.